Now let's see about the eyes. Instead of just drawing the eyes on, I think I'm going to add eyes to it. So right here in this front viewport, that's probably a good place to do this. I'm going to go ahead and take and make another sphere. Oh, maybe about that big. That should be good. And see at the parameters, how about, looks like it's maybe 5, and then with low quotation, inches. So that's just made it a nice even number. So it's at 5 inches. And I'm going to make it editable, an edit mesh. And I'm going to select and give it a different sort of color. So I'm going to go back here to my material editor, and I'm going to put my multi-sub object material onto it. And let's see, the whites of the eyes, we'll make those nice and white. And we're going to select the element here. Make sure that that is now number 3. Okay, so that's 3, nice and white. You'll see. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make sort of the black part, the pupil of the eye. So on the very next one, that's number 4, we'll make that black. And you know, we could be naming all these. So for instance, this one should probably be named something like, you know, Fred Lips. Fred Face. Fred Eyes. And even Fred Pupils. I think I spelled that right. Who knows? Anyway, so that's nice and black. Okay, so I want to select part of this here. See, I made this in my front viewport so that the spirals that are making up this sphere here would be circular like this. Okay, it'd be kind of hard to select these with my good old square marquee. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to change that. If you remember in a past tutorial, we changed the square marquee to a spray can. This time we'll change it to a circular one. Okay, make sure that I've got this ignoring backface on. Start about in the center. Oh, and make sure I'm on the select tool. And I'm going to start drawing out a marquee, and you can see it's a circle, which is going to serve me pretty darn well for this. I think we can do better. Let's see. Okay, that should be good. And I'm going to change this to 4. All good. And back up to the top. Okay, so there's an eye for Fred. Well, that's giant. We'll see, we might have to change that a little bit. And I'm going to move it here. And let's just center it. Okay, moving it over a little bit. Right about to where it lines up with the corner of the mouth. So that is at -5 and some change. Let's just make it at -0.5, which will make it 6. And that way, if I want, I can, when I drag it over, it'll be easier. See, let's raise it up a little bit. Let me see, that's on the y-axis. No, it's on the z-axis right here. And 3, so that would be at, oh, let's say 0.4. Okay, good enough. And no, a little bit high, I think. I want it to be lower than that. So 0.35. Okay, that should be good. Alrighty, good enough. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this. Just going to go ahead and holding down the Shift key, move that over, let go, and say, okay. I'll name those here in just a little bit. But remember how I made that at exactly 6? That makes it easy then, over here, 0.5, to make those exactly the same distance. See, from that center, and that's why we set everything up in the center in the first place. Okay, so I'm going to take both of these guys now selected, and let's see, let's go to the top and pull them forward a little bit. Oh, good. And then we're going to go back to the front, and we can see we're starting to see Fred come alive here. But it's a little funny, right? That's a little bit weird. Looks more like a frog than anything else, doesn't he? Okay, so let's start sculpting his face just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go back to select this and probably select, oh, let's see, right about here, right between the eyes, I'm going to select a vertice. Right here. Okay, and turn on my soft select. Okay, so you know that was right on the center line there. And I'm going to turn off that edge faces. So that's going to give me kind of a nice round pattern. Okay, and then finally I think I'm going to go to my top again. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to pull this in a little bit so that I can see the eyes. Now obviously that's not enough. So I'm going to change that fall off. Way bigger, probably all the way to about half of the circle is being affected. Okay. And then I can just pull that in a little bit. I think that should be a little bit better. So let's see. Okay, so that's kind of cute, but I think we can do a little bit better than that. I want to pull in some of this area around the outside of the eye here. So selecting this again, and let's see, maybe pulling it from over here, vertice, pulling it from over right about here on this side. Okay, does that seem like it's about right? Yeah, that seems like it's about the same on both sides. It's kind of tricky to do. You know, one tip that you can do is look for, let's go to the top, is just look to see if the things are even. Like look for if this gizmo is in the center. I got that there. I can see it over here. And in fact, if I pull that fall off down, then it's going to be a lot easier. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now I think I'm going to adjust my fall off a little bit bigger. And there we go. And maybe even bubble it a little bit more. So I'll put that to 1. And let's see here. What about, because I just want to cover up a little bit of the outer eye, right? So maybe if I go up a little bit, and maybe if I go in just a little bit, not too much, not too much. That's a little bit better. Maybe up just a skosh more. Sure, why not? There we go. Something like that, Fred. We don't have to make them too pretty just for a tutorial. And maybe we'll give them something of a nose. So if I go towards the center, does that look like it's in the center? Go to the front again. Yeah, it does look like it's in the center. And so I'm just going to pull that. Oh, that's too much. Bring that fall off down. Maybe zero that out. How's that? Okay, so now Fred has a little bit of a nose. Good enough. I don't want to play with this too much because we'll save our playing around with stuff more for the when you're making your own blocky and stuff like that. And I'll give you a tutorial that tells you about that a little bit. So good enough for now. Okay, so before we attach the head to blocky, let's go ahead and attach the eyes to the head itself. So I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to rename it. And this is Fred Eye Right. And then this one would be Fred Eye Left. Now you can call yours anything you want. It doesn't have to be called Fred. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to attach the right eye up here to the head, making that chain. And I'm going to go ahead and here's the left eye. Bring that down into the head. So now, so that if we move the head, we can see everything. When I've got my soft select on, that's what's making that annoying orange color. Right, so if I got that, and we turn off the soft select, then we won't have to be looking at that all the time. Wonderful. I'm going to bring open Fred, so stop the isolation, and bring Fred's head up. And of course we are going to need a neck, so here we go. I've got Fred's body, and I'm going to just shift copy that up. Say OK. I'm going to mess with the parameters a little bit, making it, let's see, the radius maybe 0.5. Okay, maybe 0.35. Oh, that's cuter. And then the height, maybe 1. Something like that. Maybe 2. Maybe 1.5. Okay, so I'm going to rotate that around 180 degrees. And I'm going to zero this out because I want that to be where it's at. So I'm going to go to my hierarchy and Effect Pivot Only and zero that out so that that's the resting position. As far as where the pivot is this way, probably want it a little bit lower. Here, let's go to my front view, and he's right in about here, and we'll put the pivot right down here. That should probably be good. And so we want to attach the head. Oh, and let's call this Fred neck. So we've got the neck, and that is attached to the body. Okay, just like so. So we have Fred, body, neck, and then head will be then attached to the neck. And the eyes are attached to the head. So give that a little test. Back to our perspective here. And so there's this. And then how about, you might want to move the pivot on the head. Probably bring that down a little bit lower. Probably down around here. Not quite at the very bottom. Up maybe just a little bit. Okay, and make sure that is zeroed out. Yep, it is. Alrighty.